So here today at Tri-Tool Technologies, we're going to do a video demonstrating the accessories and the capabilities of our 536 fitting machine. So this fitting machine is designed to do from 1 inch to 6 inch fittings. You can do T's, 90s, short radius, long radius, 45s. It has an adjustable turntable we'll be talking about. And it also has your axes to be able to adjust it to get into the center. So we'll talk about that and the different size range and the attachments we got here in front of us in this table. Okay, for the small size, we're at 1 inch through 3.5 inch, and we would put on the smaller turntable and top plate. That is available just to take this one off and put the smaller one on. In that size range, the other thing you'll do is you'll end up changing your head sizes. Now the heads, like other Tri-Tool products, you can face, counterbore, and bevel with all at the same time. You'll notice that the two tool blocks that do the bevel and the counterbore have an adjustable screw and increments on it to be able to adjust to your diameters and your cut. The other one for the face has that cam in there so you can adjust your land thickness if you're doing J-preps. When you go change that head and we go to set stuff up, we'll have the centering and squaring heads. It has a piloted shaft that goes in the center of the head. It also has live earth magnets on here. So once it's in place, it's actually holding itself up as you're adjusting your table. Once we have our head changed and our small table, when we do that, we'll do here in a minute, this is an accessory that you bolt this adapter on down to the bottom of this plate. And then these different items right here will take you from your 1 inch all the way up, stepping through T's and 90s up to get to that 3.5 inch. So this side of the table has the larger sets of B blocks, and this is going to be stamped on here for what size range. So from 1 inch, then the next step you get up to these 3.5s, and then we have multiple sizes for the whole range. This is the large set for the 6 inch. So in the manual, this table is going to show you at what sizes and what fitting to use what application and what block, and the part numbers and the sizes are stamped on them. So as you go through this table and you get to the 1 inch through the 6 inch, you just look across that table and it'll tell you what part number to bolt on. So this is a pneumatic ran machine set up right now. It takes 90 CFM, 90 PSI to operate. It has your operator controls right here, but it also has an RPM throttle control. That'll let you control the RPM depending on the wall thickness and the material you're cutting. With the wall thickness, talking about that, on the wall from 1 inch to 4 inch, it'll go up to schedule 160, and from 4 inch to 6 inch, you're gonna get up to schedule 80. An accessory that is available, if you do not like how loud this motor is for how many decibels it is within this range, you can order, and we have available, this muffler guard. You take this off, replace it with this. It has a Chicago fitting on the bottom, and you can run your exhaust over to a muffler box and bring down the sound. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and we got a 4 inch T set up in here. I'm gonna show how to use the table to adjust with your squaring head. So what we wanna do is you wanna have enough space to be able to get this through here to the head. So easily, instead of running your head back, you can release the 4 toe clamps. This is on T-slots. You just pull this back. Then you can come up here. The larger head has those live earth magnets also. You fish this through here. Then we go ahead and put that squaring, centering attachment on there. You come back, push the table up to the end. You can lock that in. And you're running up your feed to get centered and squared. To be able to adjust that, We have our Z clamp lock, which can be moved from one side to the other if need be. And then it has an adjustment knob on the top right here, and I'm raising that on my Z axis. So I dial that in, getting that so it's right on. I'm locking that down. Now, to do our other axes, if we need to shift it side to side, we loosen these toe clamps on the outside perimeter, and then you use this knob to adjust the axes this way. And you're looking at your gap on the squaring head. Once that's locked in, now you know that you're centered on each side. You can lock down those clamps. And for pivoting reasons, if you need to move it, this tripper pin has a detent in it. You would pull this back, loosen these 4 screws, and now you would be able to move your table if it was out of square, or you can pull this back. Once you're square and everything, pull that back. We can pull out centering scoring head, get that out of the way, and now we'll talk about the turntable. So this turntable actually has detents every 45 degrees. Pull out the pin, we can turn it. So if we were to do that side and do our prep, whether we're doing a bevel or J-prep or counterbore, and like I said before, you can do all 3 processes at the same time. So once that's set and you have your land thickness and J, everything perfect, all you need to do is turn it to hit your 45-degree angle, lock these down, and do the other side. Remove it again, go to the other side. Now you have 90 degrees away from each other, or 45 or 180s, depending on if you're doing a fitting or T, or 45. The other thing is, besides the detents, it has indicator lines on here, and this table is adjustable in 1-degree increments, so you can do miters. Okay, now that we got our turntable all figured out, we got our detent in, we're clamping down. We'll go ahead and talk about the Z miter, which is an accessory. This is already just set up with it. Right now, I have the 4 bolts for the base plate loosened up so I can show how that Z miter works. So it's adjustable in between 1 and 3 degrees, and you use this knob in the back to raise and lower it. And as you can see, with me lifting it, now you could miter in the other direction. So right here, I'm looking at it. If I wanted to move it up, just turning the knob, you can see the table. It's a wedge that's going in there, and it's lifting it up. And right now, I got it set all the way up to going to 3 degrees. At that point, I could tighten down my base plate, and then I could put a miter on this fitting. Okay, now that we have our fitting all in there, table's all adjusted, we went ahead, took off our centering cone. Now we would be putting on our tool bits, whatever configuration and tool bit design you have for a weld prep. We can loosen up the table. What we want to do is, if we have possibility, you want to have the head choked up. It keeps the most rigidity. So we can go ahead and take this table, push it into where our tool bits are about ready to hit, clamp that down, and now our head's not out as far. And then we'll talk about our feed rate and feed. So this is the feed handle. As your head's rotating, you would be feeding this in. You're feeding it in. Once your facing bits hit and your prep's all done, you just bring that back and you're out of the cut. On the front of the table, to help with cleanliness and the chip debris being on the table, on the front of it, there's actually rubber wiper glands that when you pull it back and push it forward, it pushes those chips in and out of the way. So let's go over a little bit of maintenance. Machines are pretty sealed up, very low maintenance. We have a couple of Zerk fittings that you do on an hourly, weekly basis. On the top right here, Then you'll notice on the sides, there's locations where we would put a light film of grease. We don't want to put too much to attract dirt and chips. Same thing on the table. On the base of the table, on the ways, you make sure everything's cleaned off. You don't get a bunch of chip buildup in there. There's a light film, light oil or grease. And then that way everything keeps sliding very well. And will give you years of use. Okay, now we got our large turntable pulled off of here, kind of going over the stuff as far as changing the head out to the small head that we spoke of earlier. And then we'll go ahead and talk about putting the smaller turntable on where it gets us from that 1 inch to the 3.5 inch. Okay, there's only 3 socket head cap screws that hold this head on. So we can remove the 3 socket head cap screws. Pop that head off. It is registered, so it holds it in center. Put that off to the side. We'll take our small head, slide it on there. Put on the cap screws. Go ahead and get that last socket head cap screw bolted in the head. Tighten it down. Now our smaller head's good to go. And next we'll talk about this table. And when we put on the smaller turntable, we'll pull the table back because we'll be using, instead of a pivot pin back here, we'll be moving it up to here. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and we'll grab this smaller turntable. And you'll notice at the bottom of it, that's where our pin is. And this gets removed from the larger one and put in the smaller one. And that's what actually pivots it. Right there off the center like that. We want it to swing. We can pull our table back just like we did earlier, loosening the toe clamps. The next thing you gotta do is for our degree plates, we're gonna remove the larger one for the larger turntable, and then we'll be moving the pin up to the front, the detent pin, and replacing it with the smaller due to the diameter of it changes the degrees. And now we're putting on that angle plate for that smaller turntable. Got that all installed. You can tell with our detent, now we're able to turn it 45-degree angles. Okay. We'll go ahead and take those toe clamps we removed earlier from the larger one and go ahead and you just put those back on, all 4. To hold that smaller table once you get stuff adjusted. And now that we have our smaller turntable in place, toe clamps, angle, we're going to go ahead and talk about the sizes we do. For the larger sizes, up to 3 or 3.5 inch fitting, T's, 90s, we could go like that, and they bolt on there. And then you would use the smaller squaring head, centering head, like we used on the large one. For down to the inch and 1.25 inches, what we need to do is there's an adapter block like this, aluminum, and it's registered in the T slots. We mount it right there, and then by part number and size, you would choose either the inch or the 1.25 inch saddle. Right now I have a 90 and the 1.25 inch saddle. It has a centering pin, and then you have a tightening bolt and then a pivot bolt, and that's what clamps it in there. It has 2 socket head cap screws and it's pinned in the back. That you locate it like that, put in your pins. That's what will hold that fitting. Now at that point, we would be able to move it into place. You would have that centering head on there, and you would adjust your Z-axis and your side plates to do the center and square, just like we did with the large one. So with this, we got it set up. We got a 3-inch 90 in here. I picked out the correct saddle for the bottom, the V block. You bolt those in to the right location. The other two sets will end up getting bolted to the upper plate in the same location, both pieces. Then once that's done, you'll be able to push this down on the springs and tighten the wing nuts. The thing with the difference is when you're doing the 90 and versus the T's is that you need to use this jack screw as a stiff leg on this back corner. When you do it on the back corner and you bring this table down, it bottoms out here, and when you're tightening the other three, it actually holds it tight. If you do not use this jack screw to dead leg this back side, it'll pull it down and you'll never be able to hold it tight. So this completes the demo of a 536 fitting machine here at Tri-Tool Technologies. Showed the smaller and the larger turntables and the different configurations and the sizes it can do.